We are 10 races away from setting the chase grid for the 2025 season here in the Wawa Cup Series, and today marks a stretch of 7 of the next 10 races that will be run on intermediate racetracks. Here today we're at the Texas Motor Speedway, race 13 of the season. We have gone 12 races with 12 different winners up to this point in the season. Will we see number 13 here today, or will we see our first two-time winner of the season? It's going to be a lot of fun here on this mile-and-a-half racetrack, and it should be a way better race than what we saw last week at Talladega. Let's hope so for all of your sake. But regardless of the fact, we're here for the Interstate Batteries 467 laps at the Texas Motor Speedway here in the 2025 Wawa Cup Series. Hello everybody, this is AG here, and welcome to the Texas Motor Speedway. We are here for race 13 of the season in the Wawa Cup Series. I'm excited to see how this race is going to play out, and this begins the race to the chase. 10 races left to go until we set the 12-driver chase grid, and we have a good 24 drivers at least who have a very good opportunity in making this chase this season. A lot of these tracks in the next 10 weeks are going to be run at intermediate racetracks and tracks where speed is key and consistency is key as well. We're going to see at some point our first two-time winner. It might be today. We will have to see. Joining alongside Matt Tuck once again, we got Stuart back in the booth as well, and I'm sure both of you would like to forget what happened last week, so we will forget about what happened last week and talk about the way this starting grid is formulated up front, with Lord Chung and Duncan Ward starting on the front row. And outside of Talladega, these are two of the best drivers we have seen this season. What do they need to do, Matt, to stay up front in this race and have an opportunity at the race victory in this Interstate Batteries 400?
Well, I mean, lucky for them. I mean, finally back here at a real racetrack. Everything is right in the world. We've seen a lot of speed out of Chung and Ward, especially Duncan on these intermediates this year. So I think, they're going to be some heavy hitters today. Obviously, you can't count out the 32 of Blaine Keys. I know he's still got to be, he still has to be absolutely livid over Rockingham. And then, you've got some other guys around here in the top 12 of Troxel and Haas and San Mateo. Big names deep on the outside of the chase line. Looking to get their way up in here. So you got a lot, but you have a lot of the, big names, drivers that we do expect to see up front here today. So it should be fun to return back to a more normal race here today.
And Stuart, it is a normal racetrack and a track that you guys at GRT tend to run very well at. But Ladovic Shred did not have a good run in qualifying. She starts 26th on the outside lane back in there. Drew Webb's actually on the inside lane in the 18. A little bit further up there in the 19th starting position. And our points leader, Travis Crampton, is also starting deep in the field in 29th. So what do those drivers need to do to work their way to the front in this race and hold some track position later on to have a good finish in this Interstate Batteries 400?
They'll need to find the perfect blend of aggressiveness but also not making mistakes. Because we've seen on occasion, it can be, because the field is so even, particularly up towards the front. At a track like this, you got to find a way to kind of, make your way forward, and you got to be a little bit aggressive. So, you got to find that perfect balance of trying to get aggressive, but also not making mistakes. Particularly when you guys like like Crampton, who starts 29th, Charette starts 26th. They're the top two in points coming into this race. So, you got to find that, that perfect balance, I suppose, and work your way forward as this race goes along.
We'll have to see how it ends up shaking out. And this race is only 67 laps, so it is a little bit on the shorter end if you really come to think about it, especially considering that this race was 83 laps 2 years ago. But both of those races were won by a certain Blaine Keys, who starts third here today, still going for win number 30 on the channel. I feel like today could be the day, but one thing that has plagued Pacific racing the past month has been reliability, and Thomas Troxel could absolutely attest to that, because he has dropped down like a rock in the points because of it. He's all the way back 24th in the standings, the last driver in the wild card. Eric Monaco does have a win, is technically eligible for that, but He isn't going to be close enough in points, so with all due respect, we're not going to put him on the list right here. But here we go. I've been talking about the chase points picture, and here we go. 10 races left until the cutoff. You see Travis Crampton there, 80 points ahead of the cutoff coming into this race. He's had a great season. Hasn't qualified too well in some races, but he's found his way to a good finish in a lot of these events. Ladovic's Red, even though she hasn't gotten a race win yet this season, and there have been many instances where she has had an opportunity to finish better than she did, she's still second in points, 52 points ahead. Bryce Egan, third in points. A great run at Talladega last week. Managed to find his way into the top 10 on that one. He's 46 points ahead of the cutoff. And then Laura Chung there, 40 points ahead. We got ourselves Alex Sanventali, 35 points ahead. Watch out for Sanventali to possibly make the chase here in that 61 machine for Andrews Racing. Duncan Ward and Tanner Parton both tied, 28 points ahead of the cutoff. Isaac Nichols, 17 points ahead. Logan Williams is 15 points ahead. And Avery Alford, 8 points ahead. With Bruno Giacomo on the other end of that, 8 points behind the cutoff. Daniel Paulus Jr., 11 points behind. Nathan Smith, Kirsten Belbo, 13 points behind. And Blaine Keys there, 17 points behind the cutoff. But this is a track that Blaine Keys loves, and he has won here the past 2 years. He's got a great opportunity in moving himself in the top 10 in points after this race is done. Wild card currently goes to Daniel Paulus Jr. and Nathan Smith. They are 20 and 18 points ahead of that cutoff, respectively. Andrew Miller, Jack Haas, Drew Webb, Brian Webb, Thomas Troxel, all in the mix right now. Keep in mind how dynamic that line is in the wild card race. Of course, it is the top 2 drivers in points outside the top 10 in points with race victory. So once you get that win, it's all about the points and consistency, and that's what Paulus and Smith currently have, and of course they have aspirations of moving up into the top 10 in points regardless once this race is done. As we mentioned, it's Laura Chung starting on the pole position in the number 20 for Rut Racing. Alongside her, it is Darlington winner Duncan Ward in the number 23. Blaine Key still going for his first win of the season in the Wawa Cup Series alongside Bernardo de Oliveira there in row number 2. Got Brian Webb there in the 43 machine. Last week's winner at Talladega made the Fast 6 alongside Thomas Troxel in the 62. Nicholas Sambadeo starts in the 7th position. He's another driver that needs a good run here today. He's 36 off the cutoff coming into this one alongside Rockingham winner Andrew Miller. And then Zachary Fitzwater in the 99. Top 10 starting position for him and Titan Fury alongside Daniel Paulus Jr. there in row number 5. We got Bryce Egan there in the 9 machine, 3rd in points, starting 11th. Go back through the field there. We mentioned Ladovic Schret 2nd in points all the way back in 26, and our points leader Travis Crampton even further back, starting in the 29th position here today. Going to be fascinating to see what those guys can do as this race goes along. We're excited to get this one started here from the Texas Motor Speedway. Let's get it started here in the Interstate Batteries 400 at Texas. Matt and then Stewart, who do you guys think's going to victory lane here today in this 13th race of the season?
Well, 13 races, 12 in the books. We are not going to see a 13th different winner here today, though, because the winner of today's race is going to be driving that yellow and black DeWalt Tools 06 for Parker Davis Enterprises. Give me Nathan Smith to get the job done here today.
Apologies. I'm going to go the pole sitter, Laura Chung, in the number 20, who's had a great season and obviously got the win a few weeks ago at Bristol, but has been very, very competitive. This is a very, very fast race team. You've got both Rut cars in the top 4 to start this race, and I think she's in a really good position to get that second win of the season.
And we'll have to see if she can get her second win in her Wawa Cup Series career, move up in the points. She has been one of the stronger drivers this season. Of course, got the win at Bristol, and did pass Blaine Keys before Blaine Keys blew up in that race as well, so she beat Blaine in that one. We'll have to see if she can beat Blaine here today. A lot of interesting faces up front. It's going to be a fun race. 67 laps, fuel window just past halfway, and it's Laura Chung and Duncan Ward, a couple of winners already this season, looking to get their second wins of the season. And the race at the chase is on here with 10 races left to go until the cutoff. It is Laura Chung and Duncan Ward on the front row. Let's get it started here at the Texas Motor Speedway. We're green flag racing in the Interstate Batteries 400. It's a fast racetrack, and it's a cloudy day, which makes this track even faster than normal, and Laura Chung will lead lap number 1 here at the Texas Motor Speedway. Blaine Keys will find himself in second. Duncan Ward, Bernardo de Oliveira, and Nicholas Samidio in the top 5 here on lap number 2. Thomas Troxel finding his way on the inside lane. Fitzwater with a top 10 run at the moment. That inside lane was where you wanted to start, but as this race goes along, the faster cars will find their way up front, and we'll definitely see some guys move through the field as this race goes along. Fitzwater trying to make a move on Brian Webb right there. He's got the nose of the inside going in the turn number 1, but there is some grip on that outside lane, especially when these tires are new in turns 1 and 2, and that's what Brian Webb did right there, looking to go 2 in a row here. As for the race lead, Blaine Keys to the inside of Laura Chung for the race lead, and Blaine's going to take it away here on lap number 3.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Keys a few weeks ago. Bristol had a fast car, blew up. Martinsville had issues. Rockingham had, I think he had the car that should have won the race, which is blistering fast. But he's out front here, but he's going to have a lot of challengers here. And early on at this race here at Texas, it's kind of a mini drafting track early in the tire run. These guys get all sorts of slipstream into these corners. The top lanes here at Texas are really weird too. You get grip, but it's also that weird Texas banking that's got going on. So it's a weird racetrack, but it can be a lot of fun here. But we got some big names up here at the front of this field here so far.
Duncan Ward there in the 3rd position, right behind Laura Chung. He does not want Blaine Keys to pull away, and Troxel making some moves on the racetrack as well. He's going to take 4th away from Nicholas Samidio, and Troxel needs a good run here today. He needs to just finish the race first, but he could absolutely benefit from a strong run, and there is speed in this car. There's speed in this team, and Pacific Racing would love to have both of their cars finish. Hey, they could definitely go 1-2. It's possible, but they just like to finish both of their cars in this race here today, if at all possible. Laura Chung trying to get some momentum there on the 32, getting a push there from Duncan Ward. A great head of steam down the backstretch, and she's already got a nose of the inside for the race lead. How about that run for Laura Chung as he tries to retake the race lead here on lap 6?
That was a great run, and the 23 of Duncan Ward was all over the back of Chung. And the 20 getting to the lead, and it looks like Keys is going to get maybe stuck on that outside lane, but talked about that outside lane with the grip there. He's going to get the run on the outside. He's going to try and retake the lead. You mentioned that it's cloudy today. Got overcast. It's cooler track. There's more grip available. And Keys, I don't think he's quite going to be able to work out, although still doing a good job hanging in there at the moment, but Chung with a good run off before. Keys just had to slightly get out of the gas just to keep it out of the wall.
And Blaine doing all he can to hold on to that outside lane, but these tires are going to be starting to wear out just a little bit here as we move on throughout this run, and that outside lane is not going to necessarily have as much of an advantage, especially in 1 and 2, as we move through the run. How about Duncan Ward? They're all over the back bumper of Laura Chung, and to your point, Matt, this is a little bit of a little drafting track here. It is still a speedway, still an intermediate, but these guys have some very quick speeds. As a matter of fact, they were going wide open in 1, or should I say not 1, 2, but in 3 and 4 yesterday in qualifying. And, we're seeing a bit of that right now. They do have to check it up in 1 and 2, and that allows these guys to split up just a little bit, and Laura Chung utilizing that outside lane to her advantage. Troxel got around his teammate Blaine Keys. Blaine's going to take it back away from him there for the 3rd position. How about Bernardo de Oliveira in the top 5? Good run. Both the Rudd Racing cars in the top 5. Both the Pacific cars in the top 5. Nicholas Samidio was 6th. Zachary Fitzwater holding on to a top 10 run. Great to see that out of Fitzy. Then you got Bryce Egan, Jack Haas, and Daniel Paulus Jr. in the top 10. I know you like to see that, Matt. Andrew Miller there, a Rockingham winner in 11th. Darian Arnsdorf knocking on the door of the top 10. How about Travis Crampton? What a run he had to start this race. He made up 14 positions right there. He's knocking on the door of a top 15, the top 10 right here. This is what has separated Travis Crampton from the rest of the field this season. He has had a lot of these runs where he hasn't qualified the greatest, but he's moved on up through the field. And I mentioned yesterday he has a 7-spot better average finishing position than starting position here this season, and that has helped him out tremendously in terms of the points. Logan Williams also looking for a good run, and how about this? Rogel Dorn. We know the speed Rogel has on these speedways. He's a very, very good speedway racer, and he is outperforming that car here today in the top 20, which, if you know the story of Rogel Dorn this season in Hamill Racing Enterprises, you know that is an impressive feat there for those guys. Brian Webb slipped back there, and that's Aiden Davis and Tanner Parton just inside the top 20, and I don't know what's going on with Ladova. She has not been able to move her way up. She is 30th right now in that 30 machine. Well, what's up with you guys there, Stuart? Not really the run that you guys wanted to see here for Ground Autosport today.
Oh my.
And we got a pass for the race lead. It's Thomas Troxel taking it away from Laura Chung, and it's a 1-2 run right now for Pacific Racing.
This is going to be a lot of fun to see how, I mean, these guys so far are not separating really. You know, this top 5 is kept themselves, top 6 really, has kept themselves together. Jack Haas is starting to catch some toe off the back of De Oliveira. And you can see, I know the tracker says he was 6/10 behind that last lap, but he is flying up to the back of the zero car. So we're going to find out how good the zeros pace is here as this run goes on. But Haas is closing in, and I think if some of these guys a little ways back here, Egan, Miller, Diacomo, Paulus, and Crampton, I have a feeling, you know, I love you, Fitzy, but I have a feeling once they get by Fitzwater here, they are going to start catching the toe off of the back of De Oliveira, because I think Fitzy's holding them up a little bit here. But Troxel up front here, this would be big for him. Duncan Ward could use a big points day as well. I mean, nobody needs a bigger points day right now than Thomas Troxel, Jack Haas, and Nicholas Samadillo, though.
I mean, you look at these guys here in the 5th and 6th position. You know, Trox is 50 points behind coming into this race, or behind the wild card, I should say. So he, you know, really desperately needs a really strong result. Of course, it doesn't matter if you get multiple wins, as long as you've got one, you're in that you're in the wild card race. And Jack Haas, he's the car that, you know, right now looks like he's the one on the move, because he was he was a long way back behind Fitzwater not too long ago, and here he is going for 5th. So you've got to keep an eye on the 39, doing a very, very nice job coming into this race. Particularly Nathan Smith, you know, the 06 is at the back of the field at the moment. So an opportunity for these guys, like, well, Miller's up here as well, the 86, of course, Haas and Troxel and these guys, you know, running pretty solidly, while Nathan Smith here struggles outside the top 30 at the moment. So a really big opportunities, guys, for them to move their way forward in terms of points. But well, I reckon if, as we go about for second here between Keys and 23 Duncan Ward, I reckon if the 86, Edred Miller, he's right behind Fitzwater at the moment. He's a guy that I think could make that pass and then close in on the guys in front. I think he's going to make it right here. He's got a good run.
And Andrew Miller has had a great season, especially the past few weeks, and he actually was up front at Talladega last week, which has helped him out a little bit as well. But he got that win in Rockingham, and it was a little bit on strategy, but he also was up there on pace, and he's up in the top 10 again here today. Great run for Bruno Diacomo, who's another guy right on the outside looking in that chase bubble, and he's a good ways ahead of Avery Alford at the moment. That 13 machine a little ways behind right there, coming into this race 10th in the standings. So we'll have to see how well it ends up working out as this race moves along. I think we're going to see Ladovic Shred also move her way through the field a little bit here in the 51, and also the 15 of Matthew Hubert. I think they're starting to find speed as this run goes along. And have those comers, we're going to have those goers as this run goes along as well. Laura Chung slipping back just a little bit. How about Jack Haas in the 39? How about the top 3 all Toyotas right now here on lap 19? They have found a lot of speed. As a matter of fact, Ford got shut out of the Fast 6 yesterday. And the highest Ford running in this race is Andrew Miller with Durrani Racing. And then you got their points leader, Travis Crampton, finding his way in the top 10, and Daniel Paulus Jr., best of the GRT guys right now. And these are guys who have had a lot of success the past few weeks. They've all won races in the past month and a half, and they're finding themselves just on the inside and outside of the top 10. Thomas Troxel doing an excellent job in this race, though, trying to get a second win of the season. Won the opener at Auto Club Speedway. But as we have well documented and have seen every single week in the month of April, hey, we're in the month of May now. Different month now and different frame of mind for these guys, I guess, hopefully. But it seems like Troxel had a mechanical issue in all 4 of the races we ran in the month of April. From Darlington to Bristol. What was the race after Bristol? Rockingham, he had an issue, and of course Talladega as well. He had a tire go down while he was running in the lead draft. After all the wrecks, it's been one thing after another for Troxel the past month, but he's got a good shot today if he can keep this car running to the end. I'm sure he is happy that this race is only 67 laps and not 83 like it was 2 years ago.
No, this is a good comeback. I don't know if comeback drive is the word for it, but Circumstances being taken into account, this is a good, very, very good day here for Troxel, Haas, and Sam and Dio all stepping up to the plate. Regardless of if these three guys can get into victory lane today, just getting the ball back going in the right direction. Duncan Ward into 23. I would not count out this 23 from having a real shot to win this race here today. I mean, we saw how fast he was at Darlington. We know how fast he was at Vegas, Homestead. So he's got some very rapid pace here. And I will throw this out here because he keeps moving his way through the field. But the 98 at Travis Crampton, if he nails this pit stop, I wouldn't count him out. He has just been soaring through the field today.
And Travis has had that kind of a season. He's just been lights out pretty much everywhere he goes. There's Daniel Paulus Jr. looking to move his way into the top 10 as well in the 54 machine. And right here, Miller, Crampton, and Paulus, I feel like are three guys, all with different Ford teams, all different Ford alliances here, who I think all have a very good chance at making the chase, but even really contending for a lot of race wins on these speedways as we move along throughout the season. As Aiden Davidson in the 00. That's a shame for him right there. He's been one of the best uncharted drivers this season, but an issue going to take him out of contention early on here at Texas. We're closing in. We're probably about 15, less than 15 laps until we get to our cycle of pit stops in this race. And we have a green flag field of this race right now, and that could definitely shake things up in terms of a green flag pit stop. We saw that at Homestead, and that benefited Travis Crampton. Had a very good car after that cycle, and to your point, Matt, he is moving his way through the field as De Oliveira slips back a little bit. Paulus there in the 10th position. You got Giacomo, Kirsten Bell, Darian Arnsdorf. Great run for the uncharted driver in 13th. Logan Williams, Tanner Parton. And Ladovic Stretz found her way up into the 17th position, trying to get around Zachary Fitzwater for 16th. These guys kind of getting jammed up back in here, but the cream's rising to the top here at Texas, especially in this top 10. All these guys are guys we expect to win races, expect to compete for a championship this year after what we've seen, and a great run, especially for Pacific Racing, as they currently run 1-2. 41 laps to go here in the Interstate Batteries 400 at Texas.
One of maybe the most remarkable things when you look at the Pacific drivers and obviously Echo Evans Ross and Evans Ross Racing as well, none of their cars are actually in the chase currently. They're all on the outside looking in. All four of these really strong Toyota teams that are drivers and teams that you expect to win races. So, this is not surprising, to be honest. To see them run as well as they have, I know Kirsten's outside the top 10 at the moment, but see the two Pacific cars running up in the top 2 is not unsurprising. It's not a surprise, I should say. But also, Duncan Ward, the 23, he's been probably the fastest general driver on these speedways so far this year. He's been very, very quick overall. I reckon he and Crampton are probably the two that have really stood out in that regard. And obviously, Crampton's the man on the move. He's up to 7th. He started 29th. He's made 22 spots in 29 laps, just casually. But, Duncan's done a great job in the 23 as well. So, right now, it looks like it's between currently maybe down to 6th, unless Travis can kind of bridge the gap back to the 20.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, and this was kind of the position he was in at Homestead as well. So I think he's going to have an opportunity to do so in that 98 machine once we get to that cycle of pit stops. And we'll have to see, because Paulus is also fast in this race. Paulus was runner-up at Homestead. So both of these guys are in a very similar position to where they were at Homestead in that race, and this race has a bit of a feel to how that Wawa 400 went. We'll have to see if that ends up being the case as we move along. Troxel still leading this field. He has led the most laps so far here today, and you can kind of tell these tires are starting to wear out. These guys kind of lifting off the gas, going into the corners. How about Jack out in this 39? I think he may be one of the fastest cars on the racetrack. He's also going for his 2nd win of the season. It's funny. You got the 2 winningest drivers on the channel. You also have Fitzwater, who's 29 wins as well, in the top 5. And they're the only 2 of the top 5 who has yet to win in the Wawa Cup Series this year. Great run for Nicholas. And, this is a team a few weeks ago, we're like, are they even going to have a chance of making the chase? Well, runs like this, if they can keep the consistency like this on these speedways, because like I said, we got 7 of these intermediate tracks in these next 10 races, including today, could very well benefit Nicholas Sambadio, and they could very well find themselves in a good position. And hey, North Wilkesboro is 2 weeks from now, and that's where Nicholas Sambadio won last year on Tire Strategy. That will be another Tire Strategy race That may also benefit Andrew Miller, who won that race on tire strategy as well, who's also closing up. He's now up to 7th. They both got around Crampton. Both Paulus and Miller right there. The Oliveira there in 10th, and Kirsten Bell just on the outside looking in. Bernard Giacomo, Darian Arnsdorf, Tanner Pardon, Ladovic Charette in the top 15 right now, and then Logan Williams is 16th. Bryce Egan, Alex Vitale, Avery Alford. Matthew Hubert has done a great job from 39th to 20th. I know you got to be happy about that one, Matt.
Yeah, it's a good comeback drive. Egan's starting to fall through the field a bit here. But it is going to be interesting for some of these guys. I think the Nathan Smith struggle today with Daniel Paulus still having a very solid top 10 run going here. I think, they both got past Crampton.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite interesting. I think it makes the battle between San Medeo and Troxel and Haas, because I think Blaine's going to point his way in. It makes the battle between San Medeo, Troxel, and Haas for that second wild card position start to heat up, in my opinion, quite a lot, because I think Nathan Smith's leaving the door open for those guys to close into the wild card race. And, obviously, a bit biased because Daniel's my guy, but I just don't think that you're going to be able to unseat him from that first wild card. Granted, we'll see, because Blaine Keys could win. Blaine Keys could win.
Here's what Paulus can move himself right into the top 10 the way this race is going. It's very possible, especially with Alford and Williams, and we haven't seen Isaac Nichols up front in this one either. He's 27th, so that's the dynamic thing about the wildcard battle. Paulus is in a position to just point his way in this season. Andrew Miller, I think, is in a position to do the same thing the way this race is going. I think he'll have the consistency to be able to do so. We're just going to have to see. It's all about the points for those guys. As Blaine has come down the pit lane. Blaine going to start us off right here on lap 36. This could get a little interesting because, as we have seen, the tire wear has come into effect, and those guys definitely were letting off the gas a lot more than they were earlier on. Blaine's going to have an advantage early on, but if this thing stays green, the tire wear is going to definitely swap in advantage of the guys who stay out, so we'll have to see if that ends up being the case. But Blaine Keys, Tanner Parton down the pit lane, Troxel still staying out right there, and we'll see how it ends up working out. San Medeo and Crampton also staying out. Some guys playing the long game, some guys playing the short game, and we'll see who ends up having the advantage as it goes along. And I always hold my breath when we have a green flag cycle of pit stops on a speedway like this, but knock on wood, all those guys got through it all right, and Troxel's probably going to come down the pit lane this time by. And I imagine that we're going to see Blaine Keys coming off the pit lane here. Oh, no! And there is a mechanical failure. Bryce Egan in the 9. And is he going to get back around? He's got to get down to the apron right here. And that's going to hold Blaine Keys up in the 32 machine, and Blaine is going to lose a lot of time. We are still green, but Blaine lost so much momentum from that he's going to fall back in the running order because of that. Tanner Parton, who came down with him, going to drive right by him in the 97. It is one thing after another for Pacific Racing, and now more guys who are off the pace that he's trying to get around, and Blaine just keeps getting roadblocked. It's like we're back at Talladega again.
Well, so the 41's out of sync. He hasn't pitted as of yet, and you can see how much the tyre wear, the difference between 41 and some of these guys.
Paulus getting held up as a touch there.
You can see the difference in the tyre wear, though, and how much it has an impact. That's going to really hurt the 32. The undercut's the way to go, I would think, and you're going to see Duncan Ward take the lead right here in 23. He's going to get by Troxel, and so that's a big move for Duncan. He needed to make that one stick, and he's going to... Well, that's close with his teammate, Zane Davidson. But, the undercut was more effective there. The 23 out in front, and I reckon Blaine's going to have quite a few words to Bryce Egan about that.
He absolutely
as
will.
He should. As he should.
Not great manoeuvre there from Bryce.
Well, somehow, even with all of that, we got through the cycle without a caution, and I applaud those guys for doing so. But how about Duncan Ward? And how about Jack House as well? That 39's flying, and he is closing in on this 23 at the moment. These two guys riding on each other, and they're going to have lap traffic in the way. You got Jesse Turner, Roberto Crown Jr. that they're going to lap here in just a moment. Troxel's going to be third after all that, and he stayed out longer than anybody else, so those tires are going to be better than anybody else. Tanner Parton's up to fourth. That undercut really worked, and Blaine would be the race leader if he did not get in the Bryce Egan there. Laura Chung, Andrew Miller, Blaine's still 7th. Blaine is still 7th, and it's Daniel Pauls Jr., Kirsten Bell, Nicholas Sambidio. How about Darian Arnsdorf in 11th? Bruno Diacomo, Ladovic Stret, Parton, or should I say Crampton fell back. That's a touch right there down to 14th. And Logan Williams, the top 15. But that definitely swapped some things around. Duncan Ward trying to get a second win of the season. He is stuck behind Turner and Crown right now, and that's allowing Jack Haas, Thomas Troxel to close in. These guys are good to go on fuel to the end of the race, and it's a race for the win here with 26 laps to go next time by here in this Interstate Batteries 400 at Texas. 4-second, Troxel to the inside of Jack Haas. He's going to take that away from the 39.
And the one thing about, say, Texas more so, or, you throw out Atlanta, a lot of these intermediate tracks, some of these slow cars can kind of be roadblocks here, and we've seen these Hamel cars be roadblocks before this season. And they're turning into a roadblock for Duncan Ward here. He cannot get by the 47 and Jesse Turner, and this is allowing the two Toyotas to just slingshot up to the back. Haas is going to go for the overtake on the inside of Troxel, and I think he's going to get to use the 47 of Turner as a pick. Oh, this is great stuff here, and Jack knows this is go time. This is his chance to catch up to the back of that Rainbow 23 here. If he wants a shot at his second win of the season here, this is his opportunity to do it.
And Duncan is struggling to get around Turner right here. That 47 has some speed on the outside lane, and Jack Haas is closing right in, and all three of these guys right on each other. All three of these guys race winners this season. All trying to get their second win of the season here in the Wawa Cup Series. How about Tanner Parton? Hey, Blaine, he's still 5th. He's still within 4 seconds of the race lead after what happened. Just imagine if that did not happen. He'd have a 5-second lead right now. But I feel like the tire wear might be not in his favor as this run goes along. We'll see if that ends up being the case. Laura Chung and Andrew Miller, solid runs for those guys. Paulus in the top 10. Kirsten Bell and Nicholas Sambidio holding on to a top 10 as well. Crampton and Charette, top 2 in points, trying to move their way through the field. They're 12th and 13th now. They got around to Giacomo there. Logan Williams as well to the inside of Giacomo. He's been hanging on to a top 15 this whole day, and that's decent enough to keep himself in the top 10. Trying to make the chase for the first time in his career, and for the race lead.
And for the lead.
That's all you got to do. Jack Haas and Thomas Troxel have found themselves around Duncan Ward, and now it's Jack Haas leading the field here at the Texas Motor Speedway.
Wouldn't this be a big moment for the 39 or the 62? Given, of course, that some of the guys' struggles throughout, specifically the 06, the 6, for example, they've struggled in this race. Haas comes into this race 25 behind the wild card, and what, he's 38 behind the top 10. So for him to go and win this race, it's so important. Just get those bonus points and move towards that 06. Duncan, he's 6th in points. He'll be pretty frustrated because I reckon. Getting stuck behind or stuck alongside the 47, that really held him up, and now he's going back for second. I'm surprised he was really patient with the 47. I was a bit surprised by that.
Mm-hmm.
But,
maybe too patient.
Tell you what, probably too patient. You see Jack Haas, once he got around, 62, the 23, he got to the inside of Crown here pretty quickly. Although Crown's going to try and fight it back, Troxel diming it in there. And trying to get the run. He may have a shot here into turn 1. He's got a great run off of 4.
Yeah, great run for Thomas Troxel here in this race, and he's just hoping and praying that thing doesn't blow up. It can only happen so many times in a row. It really can. How about Tanner Parton? Great run for him in this race. Blaine Keys as well. Andrew Miller trying to move his way up. I keep on referring back to what Andrew said at the end of the Thanksgiving 500, that he's coming after Blaine Keys, and that's kind of almost what's happening right now. Blaine has kind of had a little bit of a worse season than we expected, and Miller has definitely been coming on a lot stronger as of late, and they're actually, not too far off from each other in the point standings. They're off by about 14 points coming into this race, so Blaine still has the advantage. But Body Armor Pro Series could get a little interesting. I don't want to spoil it for either of you too much, but I can spoil these two, because Blaine and Andrew did both advance on Monday night, and they could face each other in Indy for the Body Armor Pro Series in-season tournament finale. But I won't say anything about you two guys, but you weren't facing off against either of them, so you guys can find out on Monday night. Hey, we got a battle for the race lead. Troxel to the inside of Jack Haas. Duncan Ward's there in the 23 still, and all three of these guys under a blanket here with less than 20 laps to go in the Interstate Batteries 400, and Troxel going to take it away there from Jack Haas.
And Haas has got to kind of keep recollected here and get back into the slipstream of the 62, because something that's kind of gone unnoticed here the past couple of laps, Tanner Parton, I think, is starting to form a roadblock in third place. His tires have fallen off a lot, which is expected. He hit first, but here comes Haas back to the lead. This 39, I think, has been the strongest car today. We saw him on that first run of the race just slice and dice through a ton of very fast cars to get himself in position here, and now under 20 laps to go. He's out in front controlling the race, but this is going to be a fight to the finish here, because the 62 and the 23 are not going anywhere.
And you got Andrew Miller trying to get around Blaine Keys right here. Is like you said, they might be stuck behind Parton just a little bit. Remember, he's short pit. So did Blaine Keys. Andrew Miller came in a couple laps later there, so you would expect that 86 to have a little bit of an advantage here.
Oh,
Travis Crampton, by the way, has found himself in 9th, and I don't think he's got enough time to get up to the lead, but he's doing the same thing he did at Homestead. He's finding a lot of speed late in this run, and Ladovic knocking on the door of a top 10 as well, behind Nicholas Samadillo right there. And back up in front.
Daniel's out of the race?
Did something happen to the 54?
Oh, of course.
Boy.
Of course.
Yeah, something. Daniel did have an issue. Gearbox going bad on the 54 of Daniel Paulus Jr. He was up there, and mechanical issue again for Paulus. That's happened to him a lot, too, and that's going to send him further back in the wild card race going into our next one to Kansas. And we know that Paulus has the speed. He just hasn't been able to get that car to finish, and, just ask Thomas Troxel in the position he's in right now. That's happened to him enough times the past few races, and it happened to Paulus again. Those are two guys, Troxel and Paulus, who have had that happen to them a lot this season. We're just going to have to see how the next 9 races end up shaking out. Paulus is out of the race, but Thomas Troxel still very much in it, trying to get around this 39 of Jack Haas. Duncan Ward's still very much in this as well. They're now 5 seconds ahead as Blaine is trying to get around Tanner Parton right here. But these guys are not gaining any time at all. Crampton, on the other hand, he's got some speed, and he may get a top 5 out of this one once this is all said and done. But the race winner is going to be one of these 3 guys, the way this one is going. And Jack Haas has to hold off Troxel and Duncan Ward for this race win. 12 laps to go in the Interstate Batteries 400 at Texas.
And now with Paulus out of the race, I mean, this makes it even more important for the 39, the 62 to gain as many points as possible. So that second win, would be so beneficial for these guys, especially beneficial for Duncan Ward, though, who's already 6th in points, trying to go back to the inside, and you can't quite stick it on that inside. The outside lane off of through turns 3 and 4 there, certainly playing a factor as this run goes along, but now we're getting towards 10 laps to go. Who's going to have the strongest car within the last 10 laps will be very, very interesting. But it is going to come down to these 3 cars. Here goes
They
Troxel.
finally got around Crampton, Parton right there. And to your point, there goes Troxel. Going to make that one. Going to try to make that one look easy. Jack in some run on the outside lane. They're going to be side by side for the top position right here. Off the exit is when they lose it right there, and then they're just going to drive right by Jack, and that might allow some of these guys in the back to close in. They got around Tanner Parton back in there, so now you got Blaine Keys in 4th, and look at the time he just gained right there. I think he just gained half a second. Travis Crampton's also going to have a lot of speed on his team into Tanner Parton as well. Andrew Miller is going to have a good shot at this one. A great run for Andrew once again. This is Durrani Racing. This team has not been up with the big dogs too much in the Wawa Cup Series, but they have found it. They have found something with Andrew Miller. Maybe they have found something within the development of that team as well that has benefited Andrew Miller. Maybe a lot like with what Blaine Keys had with Racing Motorsports last year. Maybe a very different team development-wise, but the driver-team combination works out very well. And I think that's what happened last year with Racing Motorsports and Blaine Keys and why they were so successful. Duncan Ward's just that good. He's going to the race lead to the inside of Thomas Troxel, and Duncan's got a shot at this one again. Troxel's trying to get the outside lane to work, but right there, you just don't have the grip on the outside right off the exit. And yeah, that's not good for Troxel, but that's great for Duncan Ward, trying to get a lap car in between him and second place.
Yeah, that Roberto Crown Jr. in between Duncan and his 2 competitors here is definitely going to be crucial here. Troxel's got to clear this 81 here, or he's going to be in some trouble. Why is the
23's got a problem on the 23? The engine went bad on Duncan Ward. Another mechanical failure. And now that's going to give Jack Haas the race lead with 6 laps to go, 7 laps to go here at the Texas Motor Speedway. Unbelievable. And you know what? That's going to close Blaine and Andrew right into this. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. But that's going to hold the momentum up just a little bit for Jack and Troxel. Man, what a shame for Duncan Ward. And the reliability, that is something that is so important for some of these guys and some of these tracks. And Texas is another one of those tracks where reliability can definitely become a factor, and that has been the case here today. And, Troxel is still holding his breath, hoping that he can make it to the end after what he has seen. Such a tough break for Duncan Ward. He was going to win this race. Instead, he is going to fall outside the top 35 and fall even further in the points. Jack Haas and Thomas Troxel going after it here for the race win. Lane Keys and Andrew Miller trying to close in. Crampton is in the top 5. He's gotten around Tanner Parton. Ladovic is up to the 7th position. Kirsten Bell with a great run. Nicholas Amadio and Laura Chung, that's the top 5. Logan Williams, Brenda Diacomo, Avery Alford, and Matthew Hubert. But it's either going to be the 62 or the 39. Zayden Davison's back down the pit lane. Remember, he had a tire go down or had some sort of an issue earlier on in the race, and he's on a different cycle. 4.5 laps to go here at Texas for Jack Haas in the Interstate Batteries 400.
Well, Troxel trying to close right in here. He's just a little bit lower than the 39. He's able to stick it through the center of the corner, and here he goes. He's got a good run. Can he get down to the inside? He's there at the left rear quarter panel, and here he goes for the lead. And he drives it off into turn 1. Look at how hard he drove it off into turn 1 there. And he's going to... Oh, he couldn't quite make it stick. He had to check up. He had to check up just a little bit, get out of the gas, and here comes Haas to retake the lead.
And from the outside lane, Jack's going to hold on to it for now, but Troxel's back on the inside, and they're closing in. Brian Webb, Philip Torres, Justin Zeidel ahead of them. We're not at Talladega anymore, so they're at the other side of the field. But Troxel going to finally make that pass on Jack Haas and get Roberto back to the inside of the 39. And it's 3 laps to go here at the Texas Motor Speedway, and it's like we're at Talladega again. Look at this lap traffic here, Matt. Crazy stuff here with Jack Haas and Thomas Troxel battling for the race lead, trying to zigzag around these guys they're up to speed with these guys. Jack's going to try to split those guys on the inside so he doesn't lose too much ground from the 62. And that move may win him the race. It's going to be 2 laps to go next time by here for Thomas Troxel at the Texas Motor Speedway.
It's 2 laps to go for Troxel, and Brian Webb is holding up Troxel, but I don't know if this move to the outside is going to work for Jack Haas. If he can get the run to the side of the 43, he just can't get quite up along the side of the 62 here, and he's going to have to build some momentum for potentially a last lap overtake because Troxel cannot get to the bottom of this 40. Uh-oh, don't open the door there.
Not quite yet. All right, how's it going to go down? White flag in the air here at Texas for Thomas Troxel and Pacific Racing. Jack Haas trying to close in. He's got one more shot at the race win. Will he be able to get alongside him at any point here? He's going to try to get some momentum down the backstretch. And Brian Webb still holding up. They are side by side ahead of our race leader. Troxel trying to do all he can to get around these guys. That may actually help out Troxel getting to the inside of Zeidel. But Jack's right there on the back bumper. Will he peek down to the inside coming to the checkered flag? He doesn't have any room to do so. And Thomas Troxel is going to be the first driver to win 2 races this season here in the Wawa Cup Series. Thomas Troxel gets it done in the Interstate Batteries 400. It's a 1-2-5 for Toyota. Blaine Keys fell back to 5th at the end there. Andrew Miller gets the podium, and our points leader, Travis Crampton, will finish 4th. Tanner Parton, Ladovic Charette, Kirsten Bell, Nicholas Samadio, and Laura Chung, the top 10.
That is... Well, that was a hell of a race. That was
it absolutely was.
And Troxel played it smart at the end because he blocked the bottom of the racetrack. He had the lap cars in front. He just stuck behind Brian Webb in the 43 and made sure that... he said, Jack, if you're going to beat me, you're going to have to go around the outside. And very smart driving there from the 62. And he's deserving of this 2nd win of the season. And finally, some luck for him. I mean, he's finished like 40th or lower on 3 occasions this year. You know, where he is in the points is not indicative of his talent. And gets a 2nd win. That's a big result. You had Paulus, obviously had his mechanical issue. You had Nathan Smith. I mean, he finished 25th today. Nichols was... the 6th ended up 16th. That's not a bad recovery, I suppose. But Duncan also, camshaft, he was out of the race. you know, quite a few of these guys. Poor Darian as well was running very nicely in the 11. He finished 40th. A mechanical issue too. So, quite an entertaining race, and it does make things pretty interesting in terms of the wildcard battle, because now you've got quite a few of these guys with wins, you know, whether they're going to be just inside the top 10 or not.
Mm-hmm. And Troxel's one of those guys. He was, of all the full-time guys with wins this season, he was lowest in the points coming into this one, and Troxel ends up being the gentleman that gets the second win of the season. I have no idea what I was saying there, but you get the idea. First one, the 2 wins this year, and it's the guy who won the first race of the season at the Auto Club Speedway, getting it done. And that might not be the last win either. And keep in mind, Troxel's the guy who's won the regular season championship the past 2 years. He is a consistent driver, and that was definitely true here today. And, you know, Pacific Racing as a whole, Blaine didn't get the podium, but he got a 5th place finish, a top 5, double top 5 for Pacific Racing. As a matter of fact, all 4 of the full-time Toyotas finished top 8 in this race. So Echo's team also had a great run with Jack Haas and Kirsten Bell. Travis Crampton, our points leader. Ludovic Charette, both finished top 10 as well. Andrew Miller there in 3rd. Those are guys we expect to run well. And we expected Duncan Ward and Daniel Paulus Jr. to be up there as well, but their engines had other ideas in this race, and that has been a big topic of conversation the past few weeks for some of these teams. But hey, regardless of the fact, even though lap traffic got in the way a little bit there, that's still a heck of a lot better of a race than what we had last week at Talladega. I'm sure you can attest to that, Matt. But fascinating one here at Texas, and thoughts on how this race went down here in the Interstate Batteries 400.
No, I think, you know, obviously, do you want to see Roberto Crown Jr. racing the leaders late in the race? No. Is this better, though, than Talladega? By 10 miles. You know, you could still see these guys get around the lap cars easily. So, great run there for, I mean, a bunch of those guys in the top 10. Unbelievable to think that, you know, with all these all-star names here in the series this year, that reliability might end up deciding who makes the chase or not, but that is the way that this championship's playing out here. But no, that was a great comeback drive for a lot of people who needed it today. It was a good race start to finish. Nice to get back to a more normal race after what we saw last week at Talladega, and it's going to be, I think it'll be interesting over the next couple weeks, because like you said, 7 of the next 10 races on intermediates, you know, Kansas, Nashville, Chicagoland, I think is in there somewhere as well, Charlotte. So there's going to be a lot on the line over the next couple weeks, and seeing these guys up here today, that is some foreshadowing for the next month or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely is. Chicagoland is actually in the chase, by the way. Our last race in the regular season is Atlanta, Friday night, so that's going to be a lot of fun to set the chase grid. And we could very well see Thomas Troxel have a good run in that race as well once we get down to it. But fun race here at the Texas Motor Speedway. And you know what? Next week, we go to the championship deciding race. I say that because the past 2 years in the Wawa Cup Series, the winner of the Great Wolf Lodge 400 went on to win the championship in the same year. And on top of that, it was their first ever win in the Wawa Cup Series. Drew Webb in 2023, Ludovic Charette last year. They both went on to win the Wawa Cup Series championship later on in the season. Will that end up being the case this year? Well, we'll find out who wins Kansas next Friday night, the Great Wolf Lodge 400. That is always a fun race there, and we always see a lot of the best drivers run up front in that one as well, just like we did today, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun seeing who gets it done in that 14th race of the season. Well, thank you so much for watching here today from the Texas Motor Speedway. A huge congratulations to Thomas Troxel for getting the job done here in this Interstate Batteries 400. It wasn't Blaine Keys going 3 in a row at Texas, but it was his teammate getting his second win of the season. And Troxel was up there on the wins list as well. I can't remember where he is specifically. I think that's win number 24 for Thomas Troxel. And keep in mind, Abe Troxel got a couple of wins there as well back in the day. So Troxel's racking them up himself. So we'll see how it ends up shaking out for him as this race season goes along. We'll see how he ends up moving up in the points here in just a moment. Thank you guys so much for watching once again. On behalf of Matt Tuck and Stuart Gratton, here are the points for the Wawa Cup Series after 13 races, and I will see you guys later.